After viewing this video, you will be able to file Form 1099s. At the end of the fiscal year, you need to file vendor 1099 forms. Before you print 1099 forms, verify your company information is correct. It's a good idea to make any corrections you can before you print the 1099 forms. If you haven't already, view the Verify Vendor Information video to see steps on how to verify vendor 1099 amounts are correct. If you need to make any corrections, open 44 Vendor Records directly. In 44 Vendor Setup, the 1099 type determines for which 1099 and in what box matrix includes this vendor's totals. Vendors with a 1099 type of 1 non-employee compensation are included when you choose 1099 NEC forms. In matrix, box 1 populates with the vendor 1099 balance. Vendors with a 1099 type of 2 rent, 3 attorney, or 5 medical are included when you choose 1099 miscellaneous forms in matrix. Rent types populate box 1, attorney types populate box 10, and medical types populate box 6 with a 1099 balance. Vendors with a 1099 type of 4, interest are included when you choose 1099 INT forms. In matrix, box 1 populates with the vendor 1099 balance. Vendors with a 1099 type of 6, dividends are included when you choose 1099 DIV forms in matrix, when it becomes available near the 2023 year-end. In matrix, box 1A populates with the vendor 1099 balance. To file 1099 forms, open 45 Vendor 1099 forms. Sage 100 Contractor uses matrix for 1099 forms. The form type at the top of the list is the TIN verification form. The Taxpayer Identification Number verification form is used to check that a name and TIN combination match IRS records before filing. Enter the first check date and last check date. Click Run Report to begin. The next form type in the list is for electronic 1099 consent. Click Select Vendors to choose the vendors to receive the electronic consent. Click Run Report to begin. Here is a sample. To begin the 1099 process, select the form type and verify the year in the criteria. The form type and year you select determine which vendor's matrix includes in the Preparer window later. Click Run Report when you're ready to begin. At this point, if there are updates from matrix, a message displays about the updates and you'll need to select the update method. The 1099 Setup Wizard opens. You have 3 options for 1099s. The first option is a test drive, which provides a way to complete a trial run of 1099s with a portion of your vendors. During this process there is information you set up to use. This information you set up is not saved after the trial run. Use this option to verify and prepare to complete the final forms. The second option is Test Drive, in which you complete the trial run with all vendors who should receive a 1099 of this type. The final option is for the final 1099 filing. This is not a test drive option. Make your choice and click Next to continue. Verify the payer tax ID number is correct. The program uses this ID on all 1099 forms that you're printing. Choose EIN for Employer Identification Number or SSN for Social Security Number. If the payer tax ID number is incorrect, close this window and open 7-1 Company Information to modify. Click Next to continue. If you file 1099s for multiple companies, departments, divisions, or sites that use the same federal identification number, you must select the Yes option. If you file 1099s for a single company, select the No option. After you select the correct option, click Next. On the Payer Information window, verify the details are correct. If you make corrections here, the changes do not update the details in 7-1 Company Information. To make a permanent change, open 7-1 Company Information, make the modification and save your changes. Then return to the vendor 1099s and continue. Click Next. On the Tax Preparer Type window, if you prepare the 1099 filing for your company, select the first option. If you are a paid tax preparer who is not employed by the company and you file on behalf of the company, select the second option. For third-party preparer, we'll select filing for company employer. Click Next to continue. Atrix uses common screens for 1099 and W-2 setup processes. As a result, not all screens are required in the 1099 setup wizard. The state and local tax items is only for W-2 processes. Click Next to continue. On the data verification page, select Yes if you have vendors that prefer to receive electronic copies of their 1099s. To set this up for vendors, select the 1099 type and complete the consent form in Atrix. Later you can indicate which vendors prefer electronic copies and enter the email information if needed. Click Next to continue. On the Recipient Identification Numbers window, indicate how you want to format the recipient tax identification numbers and how to display zero values on the vendor copies. After you make selections, click Next. Atrix compiles the vendor information, and the Preparer window opens. Any vendor set up with the 1099 type you selected in the initial 1099 forms window, who has a balance for the year you selected, is included in the grid. The vendor information you see on the rows in the Preparer window populate from the information on the vendor records in 4 vendors. Click in the grid to make adjustments to the information if needed. Here we'll add the recipient, last and first names for those who report by Social Security number. Be aware that changes you make in this window are only saved and used for this run of the filing. Any changes you make here do not update the vendor information in the software. If you need to change incorrect information in this grid, the preferred method is to close the window and make the changes in 4 vendors. Notice the action toolbar at the top of the window. This toolbar displays the actions that need to occur to complete the forms. If at any point you are unsure what information to enter, just look at the action bar and it prompts for the required information to complete this step. Verify all vendors in the list have a taxpayer ID number. If a taxpayer ID is incorrect, make the correction before you continue. Click the Next button to continue. Review the taxpayer identification number flag column. If the vendor has a federal employer identification number, select the box. If the vendor is a sole proprietor or LLC that uses a Social Security number as a taxpayer ID number, leave the box clear, then click Next step. Even if you miss something, the program validates some information as you go and provides a way to return to the grid to make changes. Keep in mind the changes in the grid do not update Sage 100 Contractor records. Click Next to continue again. Review the recipient names and addresses. We did part of this earlier, so we should be good to continue now. On the next step, verify the income boxes. These are on the right side of the slide bar separator. Depending on the size of your screen, you may need to adjust the view. Click on the slide bar and drag to the left to view additional columns on the right. Release your mouse when the separation is where you want it. Click Next to continue. Verify the filing state is correct for each vendor, especially if you have out-of-state vendors. Click Next step. Verify the state income and withheld amounts. When you click Next, the Preparer wizard opens to step through the process of viewing, printing, and e-filing the 1099s. Click Next on the informational message. Now you'll see the window for 1099 printing and filing options. In this window, you can choose to have the e-filing service process your 1099s for you. Alternately, you can choose other options and select to print the 1099s and send them yourself. In this example, we'll select the Complete 1099 e-filing service option. Click Next to continue. You have the option to purchase a PDF archive of your 1099s, which provides a way to reprint a 1099 at any time. Make your selection. Select the states for which you need to file 1099s, then click Next. Review the list of forms you're ready to generate. You can click Print to keep a copy for your records. Click Next to continue. The reports load. If you look at the top of the window, you'll see how many reports there are to print and the name of each report. One of 5 is the California 1099 NEC forms. Just below is the count of pages in the current report and the ability to scroll through the pages. On a prior step, if you chose to e-file, you can click Print Copy to generate a printed copy for your files. Then click Next Step. If you chose to print and mail the forms yourself in the prior step, there would be an option to print final, which you would click and then you would click Next Step. In this example, the choice earlier was to e-file. We'll click Print Copy for our records. And then click Next Step. After each report you have the option to print. Click OK to print or click Cancel to continue to the next report. Follow this process for each report. There are 5 reports, and we'll go through now. Now you see Report 2 of 5, which is the California 1096 state form. Click Next to continue. After each form you have the option to print. We'll click OK in this video but will not show the printout. Now it's Report 3 of 5, the Federal 1099 NEC forms. Report 4 of 5 is the Federal 1096. Click Next Step. And you have the option to print the report. Finally, Report 5 of 5 is the Payer 1099 NEC report. Click Next Step. Again, you have the option to print the copies. If you choose to e-file your reports, the program connects to the Atrix e-file center. Sage 100 Contractor uses Atrix software to file 1099s, W-2s, and quarterly reports. The next window is the Atrix Secure eFile login. If you have not registered for the eFile Center, go to the website at efile.atrix.com and click Enroll. Follow the registration instructions. If you already registered for the Atrix eFile Center, enter your username and password, and click Login. After you log in, follow the prompts to select a date to file your forms. Atrix files the information based on the date you specify in this process. If you selected any services with an associated fee, such as the complete e-filing package, which includes the printing and mailing of forms to recipients, there will also be a prompt to provide the method of payment when you complete the process. To check the status of your filings, log into your e-file account at efile.atrix.com. When the process completes, the program opens the 1099 History File Options window. The Last Completed Actions area displays the form type and the last completed action date for that form. Below the grid, there are 2 options. View detailed list of completed actions and view instructions on returning later. The grid in the History File Options screen displays only your last action and date. You can click View detailed list of completed actions to view all actions taken on the listed forms. Click View instructions on returning later to see what the steps are to take actions at a later time. Under the available actions, there are 3 actions that are always available to perform from this screen. The first action is Reprint Completed 1099s, which allows you to reprint a copy of any 1099 filing that you already completed using the 1099 wizard. The next option that's always available is e-file or print incomplete 1099s. This provides a way to file additional 1099 copies you have not yet processed. If your recipient copies were printed from the 1099 wizard and now you need to e-file your federal and state copies, select this option. Then click Next and the 1099 NEC printing and filing option window opens. Finally, the correct completed 1099s is always available to make corrections to 1099 copies that were already processed. If you select this option, the program returns to the beginning of the 1099 filing process where you can make corrections to the 1099 data. Now, if you want to start over with filing your 1099s, choose Start Over, and your program returns to the beginning of the process. You may do this if you have new accounts payable data, or you want to clear the previous history and start over. This just provides a way to do this. Select the Start Over option and click Next. If you choose 1099 Miscellaneous or 1099 INT in the initial window, the process is the same except the type of form and vendors the grid includes. For 1099 Miscellaneous forms, the grid includes vendors for Box 1, Box 6, and Box 10 as this example displays. That was pretty easy, right? And if you choose the Complete e-file service option, Atrix practically does all the work for you. In this lesson you learned how to prepare and file vendor 1099 forms.